Adding to the pressure, Mercedes had clearly played their cards right. Ferrari also came close to pulling off something similar. In contrast, Red Bull looked like they were caught sleeping, and Verstappen was lucky the incident with Hamilton didn't end his race altogether, because that would have been disastrous for both the driver and the team in the standings. Meanwhile, McLaren found themselves in a strange position. They asked Lando Norris to let Oscar Piastri pass after gaining a lead through no fault of his own. Instead of pushing for more points, McLaren decided to prioritize the rookie's progression. This move, while unusual, shows they are thinking long-term, playing the patience game rather than chasing quick wins. The Woking-based team now believes they have a car that performs well on every type of track, a major concern for Red Bull as the season unfolds. Despite Sergio Perez's strong recovery from the back of the grid to 7th place, it was McLaren's 1-2 finish that truly shook things up. Red Bull's dominance is no longer absolute, and the gap in the Constructors' Championship has tightened significantly. Now, Red Bull leads McLaren by just 51 points, a margin that seems vulnerable given McLaren's recent form. Ferrari is also not far behind, trailing by 67 points, and Mercedes has shown they aren't to be underestimated, especially after George Russell's solid 8th-place finish, despite a poor qualifying session. This all adds up to a difficult period for Red Bull. Before the race, Verstappen openly admitted that the team's race pace wasn't enough to challenge McLaren. He suggested the data reporters had might not reflect the real situation inside the team. For Red Bull fans, this was a worrying admission because the upgrades introduced for this race were supposed to restore their competitive edge. The upgrades were expected to help Verstappen dominate the Hungarian Grand Prix, but instead, he found himself struggling just to keep pace. His starting position of 3rd was affected by a red flag late in qualifying, which limited his chance to improve. But even without that, he showed no clear advantage over the McLaren cars on race day. Passing the MCL38 wasn't something he could do easily, and that's a sign the championship battle is far from over. Verstappen made it clear during the weekend that he wasn't willing to accept the excuse that Red Bull had simply reached their performance limit. He stated that some people might not fully understand the true state of the team's situation. According to him, he's always straightforward and never makes excuses, a signal that the pressure is mounting. There's a sense that Verstappen expects more, and the current results are not matching his ambitions. With Red Bull facing this kind of challenge, Verstappen's future is suddenly uncertain. He has been on a winning streak for some time, but now the team's mistakes and the rise of competitors threaten that dominance. It's been a while since Red Bull failed to win 3 races in a row, which sends a clear warning. What's worrying is that when these mistakes happen, there isn't a strong backup driver ready to step in and score big points, unlike teams like McLaren, Ferrari, or Mercedes. The tight competition from McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes is putting Red Bull under intense pressure in both the driver and constructor championships. These teams are benefiting from solid strategies and consistent points, making every race a challenge for Verstappen and his team. With 9 races left in the season, the battle is far from decided, and the stakes have never been higher. Toto Wolff, Mercedes team boss, must be feeling encouraged by these developments. While Verstappen claims he's at the peak of his career and eager to keep winning, it's now up to Mercedes to provide the car and strategy that can help him do just that. If Red Bull's recent struggles continue, this might be the moment when the balance of power shifts. Looking ahead, Verstappen faces a tough test at Spa, one of his favorite circuits. But even there he's set to take his 5th engine, which will bring a grid penalty and could make starting positions unpredictable. Meanwhile, Perez's inconsistent form adds more uncertainty to Red Bull's chances. So, was Verstappen's frustration justified? And is he finally realizing that his car might not be the fastest anymore? Without his extraordinary driving, Red Bull could easily find themselves battling in the midfield. The season promises to be one of the most exciting yet. with plenty of twists still to come. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more in-depth analysis, don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. No one expected Max Verstappen to have such a tough weekend in Hungary. For someone who's usually the one setting the pace, finishing in 5th place was not only surprising but also frustrating, especially considering the upgrades Red Bull brought to help him bounce back to the top. Instead of a triumphant return, the result sparked heated conversations over team strategy and raised serious questions about how things are going inside the garage. From the start, there were signs of friction. In the Austrian Grand Prix, Turn 1 turned into a flashpoint when Verstappen was ordered to return a position he gained by going off track while overtaking Lando Norris. Though Max thought he had the edge at the corner, the team didn't want to take risks. That call alone lit the fuse, with Verstappen sarcastically suggesting he might as well start pushing drivers off the circuit and then just hand the position back whenever necessary. That wasn't just heat-of-the-moment talk. It reflected his growing frustration. And he had reasons to feel that way. Even before letting Norris through, Oscar Piastri was rapidly closing in, and Verstappen simply couldn't match the pace of the McLaren. The Hungarian GP revealed cracks in Red Bull's setup, with Verstappen unable to extract the performance he needed. The tire strategy in particular did him no favors. Red Bull delayed his first pit stop slightly longer than Lewis Hamilton's, even though Hamilton was just a second behind Max in the first stint on mediums. And that decision came back to haunt them. That delayed pit stop opened the door for Hamilton to pull off a textbook undercut, gaining the advantage just when it mattered most. By the time Verstappen rejoined the track, the damage had already been done. The close gap between the two brought back flashes of their fierce rivalry in 2021. Those intense moments where either one could have ended up in the barriers. And in Hungary, things weren't too different. During the final part of the race, when Verstappen had preserved enough tire life to launch an attack, emotions got the better of him. At Turn 1, he went in too hot, pushing too hard after feeling that Hamilton had squeezed him unfairly at Turn 2 just a few laps earlier. That move resulted in contact between the two, but somehow Verstappen escaped without major damage to his car. He managed to finish in 5th, though a harder hit could have easily ended his day right there. Instead of cooling off, Verstappen immediately took to the team radio accusing Hamilton of moving under braking, a dangerous tactic if true. But even his race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase seemed to be running low on patience. Responding to Max's outburst, GP made it clear they weren't going to argue over the radio with other teams, calling such behavior immature. That response from GP wasn't just unusual. It hinted at internal pressure boiling over at Red Bull. This friction isn't coming out of nowhere. Just a few races earlier, critics suggested that Red Bull was becoming too cautious around Verstappen, unable to challenge him even when it mattered. Ironically, this all comes at a time when Helmut Marko has extended his role with the team until 2026, aiming to lock in Verstappen's future. But after a weekend like this, one has to wonder whether Max is already questioning that commitment. Back on the team radio, Verstappen's frustration didn't slow down. During the third stint, when he was told to preserve the medium tires, the message from Lambiase came across with a tone that Max didn't appreciate, possibly a light attempt at humor or calmness in a tense moment. But Verstappen snapped back, rejecting any kind of levity. He made it clear he didn't want to hear anything like that, especially not when, in his view, it was the team's poor strategy that put him in a difficult position to begin with. His anger had been building long before the final stint. Even before his second pit stop, Verstappen strongly believed that the team had mishandled his race. Normally, Red Bull nails the tire strategy, particularly in hot conditions. But this time, the decision-making just didn't match the on-track reality. The delay in reacting to Hamilton's stop allowed Mercedes to gain control, a situation Red Bull usually avoids with precision. On the radio, Verstappen didn't hold back. Without using the exact words, he essentially accused the team of allowing themselves to get outsmarted and completely throwing away his chances. The original version of his rant was filled with strong language, which had to be toned down publicly. Still, the message was loud and clear. He wasn't just upset. He was furious. And if you've followed his career, you'd know this wasn't just heat-of-the-moment anger. It was the kind of frustration that stems from feeling let down by your own corner.